Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Flat Earth School, the school that has around us 24/7 since the beginning of existence. I'm Mitchell from Australia, merely a student like the rest of us here, always learning, always questioning about this beautiful world around us, the Flat Earth School. Today I've got a very special guest, Brian's Logic, and we're going to be talking about everything to do with the sextant. That's why I've named this episode Sextants 101. Brian, how are you, mate? I'll take you off mute.
Hey, how are things? Sorry about that. No,
Hey, that's all right. Hey, Brian, good.
yeah.
How are you, mate?
Good, good, good. Thanks for having me in. Really appreciate it. And looking forward to it.
Yeah, thanks for coming here. Before we get into it, everyone pretty much knows who Brian Logic is. He is a regular panel member on Flat Earth Debate. He's now a ballbuster. Congratulations, Brian, for
Thank you.
joining the ballbusters crew. I think you should have been a lot sooner, but anyway, you're with us now. But you've also got your own channel. I'll just bring it up. But Brian, I want to go into how did you become a flat earther? What's your story? I'd like to ask my guests kind of how they got to where they are now, because you're right on the cutting edge of right on the tip of the spear of these arguments right now. I just want to kind of give people a bit of a background of where Brian's logic came from.
Well, um, it started when I was a kid. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I knew it was flat when I was a kid and or anything like that. It's not like that. But I used to have to always be out in boats with my father, and they were always very small boats. So I was always close to the waterline. And I saw every kind of effect come and go over the course of a couple of hours in every type of weather: cold, hot, warm, whatever, rough, calm. Um, and I remember actually, just as I was talking to you a few minutes ago, I remember flying to Australia. It was the first very long flight I'd ever taken. I was never, other than that, it was just inter-European flights. And the flight to Australia was two 12-hour flights, one to Hong Kong and one from Hong Kong to Sydney. And all I remember thinking when I was flying over, because between London and when I flew to London, Hong Kong, like the weather wasn't good and it was a lot of a nighttime flying. But between Hong Kong to Sydney, I got to fly across Australia, and I got to see a huge amount of Australia in the daytime. And all I remember thinking was the only reason I can't see the curve of the earth is because Australia just must be a really flat place, right? And I kept thinking back to Crocodile Dundee. Is like, yeah, they had a lot of flat things in Crocodile Dundee. So, because there's a movie from my childhood, so I went, it must be just Australia's flat. But in 2015, I looked into all kinds of conspiracy theories and different things over the years, and I'd lost interest in them because they were just kind of entertainment. They weren't, you could never go anywhere with them, or they were never something you could prove. You know, it just ended up being just entertainment. And I came across Mark Sargent and Eric Dubé. First off, Eric Dubé. And he said in this video, in the first, I remember it specifically, it was a Friday night. I was on my own watching this video on the counter in our kitchen. And he said, within the first 8 seconds, he said, the horizon is always straight. And no matter how high you rise, the horizon always, and he said it like this, appears to rise to eye level. He didn't say it made the claim that it did. He said it appears to rise to eye level. And that's something I remembered straight away from being in the airplane, how, especially flying over Australia, where you could see so far because there wasn't clouds, there wasn't a lot of clouds and weather. Kind of like when you fly over any deserty area. And straight away, within 8 seconds, I started laughing, and I just knew then, yeah, it's flat, because there was too many times in my life where there was just no evidence for it to be a globe. I just could never find any evidence of the curve at that stage. Before 2015, I had no interest in NASA. I thought they were a load of rubbish because in 2012 the iPhone 5 was out, and they were still giving us grainy black and white photographs of stuff and images. They couldn't even give us an iPhone 5 image. It was ridiculous. So I'd lost all interest and faith in them. I had no belief in the moon landings, and this is prior to 2015. So for me, it was a very easy 8-second switch. I don't know if anyone lets us switch that fast, but for me, it was 8 seconds. And I remember laughing out loud because everything made so much more sense then. It's like, now things make sense, right? It's not what we were told. It's this, not that. Everything makes sense. Because I always had respect for the ancient world and ancient customs. And I remember so many times being told that the ancient people thought that the earth was flat. And even though it got a lot of ridicule off of mainstream media today, it never really stuck with me. And as soon as I came across that video and Eric DeBay said those two things, that the horizon is always straight, has no curve to it, and it always rises with you as you rise. He said it always appears to rise to eye level. Not, he didn't make the claim that it does, he said it appears. And that was that. 8 seconds is all it took for me. I started laughing. Now, from then until 2017, I didn't make a video. I was doing other things and I was just following along. The most I did was a lot of commenting and debating with people in comment sections on YouTube. I didn't know what Discord was. I was never on it. I just was sticking to YouTube and commenting on videos that people would put up. People like, whether it be at the time like a Globebusters type video or journalism, Eric DeBay, Mark Sargent, and different people like that. Obviously, Nathan was around then as well. So there wasn't a huge amount of people online, but there was enough content coming out to be causing problems and to cause kind of a bit of uproar. So, and I had a first cousin who was very much a science geek. Well, not a science, but a pseudoscience geek. And he grew up in England, and he spent 3 weeks arguing with me. I put out one thing on Facebook one time, and he attacked me. And I spent 3 weeks arguing with him and a couple of other people I knew on that I'm friends with and knew on Facebook. And I spent 3 weeks arguing with him. And in the end, because he couldn't beat me, and this is back in probably 2016, and I didn't have a whole lot of knowledge at the time, but I had enough. But because he couldn't beat me, he accused me of being a Nazi. And that was the end of that. But so since 2017, I've been kind of learning how to make videos and put out better videos, but I'll never be a videographer. So that's kind of my story. And since kind of 2017, I was listening to Nathan's since before that, since kind of late 2015, early 2016s, I think, when he started. I was listening to Nathan, and I knew who Nathan was from 2015 because his voice interview, his first voice interview. But then from 2017, I joined up on the Discord, or not Discord, or whatever it was, where he had for you to join in 2017. From then on, I've been kind of just part of, or trying to be anyway, part of Nathan's Flat Earth debates. And that's that. Here I am today, 2021.
That's a brilliant story. 8 seconds it took. You already knew that there was something up, and you just had to confirm that with a bit of extra knowledge. And 8 seconds, that's awesome. That is a great story. So now, obviously, like I said before, you're on the cutting edge of these arguments, the tip of the spear. I'll just go through your YouTube channel. Everyone subscribe to Brian's Logic. He's only got 695 subscribers. He deserves way more. He deserves 10 times that amount. The content that you're putting out, Brian, it's so vast, it is so diverse, and you're absolutely smashing the globe. So we've got, the force of gravity. That's a good one. Your points on gravity. Did you want to go just into the touch on that?
Well, which one is that? Because I get mixed up. I put out so many different ones. Is that
force
the one?
of gravity cannot exist. I really liked how you described
that one. Yeah. That's very simple. It's just a short, and it's very, very simple. Objects weigh more in a vacuum. That means there is no downward force giving weight to air. Air can't have weight. Everything we weigh is weighed within air as the baseline, within gas as the baseline. Gas doesn't have a singular downward vector. It has vectors in all directions, regardless of what gas you use, whether it be a man-made super dense gas like sulfur hexafluoride or CO2. It's still in a concentrated form, yeah, in concentrated form, it will sit on the floor for a while until it integrates with the rest of the air. But it still has vectors in all directions, so you can't weigh that gas, even sulfur hexafluoride. You try and weigh that with a weighing scales, you will never get a proper weight of it. You won't get anything of it. Only maybe whatever pressure it has. It might, if the scales is very sensitive, it might feel some of the pressure. Other than that, nothing. You won't get a singular downward vector. So the whole point is that if objects weigh more in a vacuum, it means that the air actually that surrounds objects and people and everything else actually gives a certain amount of support to them, a certain amount of lift to the. Just like if you lie in water, you will float. It's a little bit like that, but you're not floating obviously in air, but it is giving you a certain amount of what I term as structural support. Although some people don't like the term structural. I just, to make it easy for people to understand, I call it structural support. So when you take that away, you weigh more in a vacuum, or objects weigh more in a vacuum. So there cannot be a force of gravity. That means that they're stuck with trying to prove Einstein, which is fourth-dimensional mathematics, and a lot of vague claims that aren't going anywhere. Now, how do you prove that gravity is a fourth-dimensional apparent effect of acceleration? It's like, where are you going? Where do we go to see this? We don't go anywhere. You can't see it. You can only see it in the maths. So the geometric horizon, it's only in the maths. So, it's a good story from Einstein, and he wasn't a stupid person, but he was definitely knew that he had to be messing to be coming up with, he had to be playing a joke on the world to be coming up with some of the stuff he came up with. It's like,
one of the OG trolls.
Yeah, he's trolling the globe. He's basically trolling the globe. Maybe he had no choice. Maybe he was in a position where, it's only speculation, but I think he was in a position where he kind of like, if he tried to come out with what he felt was actually truth, maybe he would have just been lost in history. No one would ever know who he is. Maybe trolling the globe was the only way he could do it. And he was a mathematician, a maths genius. There's no doubt about it. Like, I mean, he could go into all kinds of wrangles with maths. So he was so good at maths, he could confuse the world. So
I mean, look where it's led now. He has confused the world. There's still people confused whether it's Einsteinian or Newtonian, but he's in the conversation. He is the prominent, other than mass attracting mass. That's where they go. That's the current rhetoric. That's the current narrative. It's Einsteinian gravity. Obviously he is a master mathematician, and the powers that be latched onto that. They saw what he was putting out as something that was so above people's heads, and that's one of the deceptions here. When people don't understand what is going on, that is the deception, because they just go, well, it must be true. That's the mainstream narrative. I don't understand it. There's people so much smarter than me that are putting these things out. I don't understand it. And in this presentation here, I want to get back to basics. So let's get into the sextant. So one of your videos here, triangle shapes debunks the globe. Like, let's get into triangulation. Let's get into that basic triangle shape. Yeah, Brian. Oh, you got your
Yep. The whole do you want to talk about triangulation and trilateration?
Yeah. Let's get into it. Triangulation, trilateration. Yep.
And just the comment you made a minute ago, you said someone was smarter than you. That's not correct, because I mean, I never believed that someone is smarter than me. I never believed that. It's like it depends on how you view view intellect. It's like there's plenty of people who can do mathematics really well, but they can't learn a language. There's something that a friend of mine, he's very good at mathematics, but he can't learn a language. He said that's a thing. So it comes down to the person. It comes down to, I don't ever think that way. It's like if they're so smart, how come they still think they're on a globe? Do you know what I mean? So that's how I view it. Do you know what I mean? So don't put yourself down. You have to be smart enough to know that you're not, to be able to accept basic logic. You know,
That's a great
what's
point.
wrong with that? You know,
That's a
so
great point because people can be book smart. People can be really intelligent and be really good in a specific field and be really intelligent. But it's the critical thinking. That's the sort of street smarts, I guess. You have to actually
yeah,
know the information that you're getting into. You have to understand the information to do with your reality. That's where the disconnect is. That's why I do these streams. That's why my channel is my streams are called Flat Earth School, because that is the school around us. We need to bring everything that we see back to reality. And that's what we're doing with the sextant here. We're using something, an angle measuring device in reality. And that's how we've proven beyond all doubt. It has been proven, it's been run out under our nose for hundreds, if not thousands of years, that we're physically measuring a flat geometric plane.
yeah.
And let's start with triangulation and
Okay.
trilateration. So there's a bit of confusion, a bit of deception going on in the globe side. What's trilateration? Do you want to get into that?
Yeah, well, the main difference between the two is trilateration started to be used in the mainstream in around 1994. And that's when a thing called the CORES network was put together in the US, as far as I know, for surveying. And the CORES network was the start of what they call GPS now. But the CORES network was a series of towers that sent out microwave signals, and the surveyors um, had receivers, what would be like a GPS receiver now, and they could receive a microwave signal and time it, so they'd know the towers were in fixed locations. So wherever the surveyor was, they could time their distance from each tower. So let's just say they were standing in a position, and within 20 miles or within 10 miles or whatever, there was 4 or 5 towers. They then would have 4 or 5 signals, and they could triangulate their position via those signals. That's the basics of it. So it's no different than having a GPS unit and getting GPS signals, because that's what it was. That's what it is, GPS. It's like the term GPS. I know it's called Global Positioning System, but a more correct way, a more correct terming for that acronym is the ground positioning system or geographic positioning system. Now that's basically what it was. So trilateration is fixed locations and your distance from those fixed points, those fixed locations, and it's a direct line of sight, microwave signal to a receiver. So there's no way that sextant use could be trilateration, because they didn't have microwaves when they were using sextants all the time back in the time of Magellan or whoever else, whenever sextants were first being used. But all through the naval times in World War One and all those older times, they didn't have microwave signals and receivers. Those things didn't exist. Trilateration is based around a receiving of a signal from a known location, and that signal is a microwave signal. That's trilateration. Now, technically, you end up with the same outcome. Basically, you're just finding your position, right? Your position is being found, or you're finding your position. But that's what trilateration is. Basically, it's mostly connected to GPS, and obviously the CORES network, where you're receiving microwave signals, and the timing of those signals, like, is due to the frequency. If you're further from one of the towers than the other, one of the signals than the other, then the frequency is going to be a little bit, it's going to be a little lower in the further one, because the microwaves they have a limit. You know what I mean? Like the world record for a microwave signal is 146 miles. Like that's the limit. Like and that was like they had to put a lot of effort in to make that happen. So microwaves are very concentrated signal, and so they time it off of how strong the signal is, and they know from the strength of the frequency that the receiver is receiving. They can tell, right? Okay, you have to be this far this far from the sender, basically. But the sender requires fixed locations. Triangulation, right? Angle, the main word, is you're taking 3 angles, and triangulation basically comes from sextant use. Now, surveying use triangulation too, but they are using more trigonometry, where they're using triangles that aren't right angle triangles. But it doesn't matter if you're talking about triangulating your position, because surveying using trigonometry, they're doing measurements. They're using that as a form of measurements, and okay, they might do some angular size stuff with that as well, obviously, but that's a measurement process. They're laying everything out to find where everything is. They're not triangulating their position at sea like people would do with a sextant. So triangulation is 3 angles, right, to give you 3 angles to 3 celestial bodies, which gives you 3 unknown distances, 3 distances that were previously unknown, and you get those distances via the angles. So if you have a 45-degree angle, that means you have 45 degrees by 60 or nautical or 69 statute miles in a straight line. Then that's the distance to the GP of that celestial body. So that's the difference between the two. One uses angles to find unknown distances. The other one uses known locations, stationary locations, to find that they work out the distance you are from it, rather than you to that thing. So kind of working in reverse. Triangulation is you finding a distance to the GP or to somewhere via an angle. You don't know the distance. And trilateration, and with triangulation using the sextant, there's no fixed position. That's why you have to take the timings, because the position is not fixed. The sky is always moving, with the exception of Polaris. So other than that, the sky is always moving, so they're not fixed positions. So you're using an angle to get a distance to the GP of something that will, and you have to time it. But make sure you have the correct time, and your hour varies and all this kind of stuff, just to make sure you have everything correct, so you can get a correct distance to the GP of that celestial body at that exact moment. Whereas trilateration is a signal being sent out from a fixed location, and you're receiving that signal. So they're not the same thing. Trilateration.
Yeah, I've got the diagram. I've got the diagram
Yeah.
up here. So trilateration, you've got 3 satellites here. We'll call them satellites. They can be ground-based towers. You don't have to beg the question, but it can be, they're fixed locations. So they've got fixed distances. So it is a distance from satellite 1 out inwards, from satellite 2 inwards, from satellite 3 inwards, and then you're getting your fix in the middle there. But with the sextant, how you just described, it's triangulation. So you're already in the middle there. You're already in that point there, and you're looking at things around you. So with the sextant, you're looking at angles, and if you want to call those satellites stars, if you're in the middle there, you're getting an angle outwards to those stars from your location. It is the opposite. They're almost polar opposites, triangulation versus trilateration. Because if you're going down in the article, trilateration measures distances, like you said, not angles. What are we doing with the sextant? It's an angle measuring device.
Well, exactly. I mean, as I said, how could you have trilateration using sextants when microwave transmission wasn't known? Do you know what I mean?
It wasn't a thing. Yeah, it was not a thing. Back when we were first using sextants to navigate whatever the world we thought it was, there was no trilateration. There was no microwave signals. There was no signals from fixed points out back into where our location is. That's the difference here.
Exactly. It's like you're in the middle, or you're between the towers, the signal outputs, and your location is, as you showed there, your location is determined due to your distance from those fixed positions. Whereas the opposite happens with triangulation. You're triangulating the GP at exact moments from your position. So it's you out the way as opposed to from them in the way to you, you know.
Exactly.
And
Yeah. Adam Macon in the chat puts it perfectly. It's a ping.
yes, he's right. It's a ping. Yeah, it's a ping. I mean, Marconi, well, it was only the early 1900s, and he was sending signals across the Atlantic from southern England to Canada, Cornwall, Canada, and he wasn't even using microwave signals at that time, and they were using sextants a long time before that. You know, so there was no like, show me with a sextant where you receive a GPS signal. Do you know what I mean? You don't. So it's not trilateration.
Yeah,
You know.
trilateration. Sorry, there was I got rid of the screen before I quoted Adam's comment, a ping ruler. And yeah, but back before we had any sort of signals, being broadcast out, where did we get these signals from? We didn't have any signal. We didn't have things around us pinging to us. That's what trilateration is. That's literally where the term trilateration came from for things like GPS, for the positioning system that we know today. Like you said, it's not global positioning system. It's what do you call it? Geographical positioning system.
Geographic,
Geographic. Yeah.
positioning system is a
Yeah.
better way to describe it.
Yeah.
Until
And so
they
you've
can
got
prove they're satellites.
yeah, exactly. Like
And
with
we're on a globe. It's geographic.
it's geographic, yeah. But these are still because the deception here, it looks like you've got 3 circles of equal altitude here. It looks like it could be something happening with the sextant because this is how we represent finding our position with the sextant, but it is vastly different to getting your position here. Yes, both are methods of determining a position, but our point here is that trilateration is from 3 or more points around you going to you, and it's with triangulation. I'll go down a little bit. It's measuring angles. That's what we do with the sextant. We measure the angles, not the distances. We don't know the distances, so we're measuring the angles in the middle of these references. So say like 1, 2, and 3, star 1, 2, and 3. We're in the middle there, and we're looking out at the stars. We're measuring angles to them, and then we're determining those circles of equal altitude, and they are circles, a 2D thing that is on a flat plane. You can only get a angle with a flat baseline. Do you think we've covered trilateration?
Well, yeah. Well,
Well?
the trilateration is does like when you get a ping, as Adam says, on your GPS receiver, they do make a radius out of that, and that's how it's shown, just like with the circles there, and it ends up being the same, only in reverse, as circles of equal altitude. It's just circles of equal basically circles of equal obviously radius, but they are basically where all those circles meet. They do, and often with trilateration, it's if you look into it, it's 4 and more as opposed to 3. They say so they need 3, but it's often 4 and more that's used more than 3. So they make circles. I think they do, or it's shown that way, but basically it's just straight lines to where you are, and basically, you know.
And in lies the deception here. So it's very telling that the Globers at the moment, they want to put what we're doing with the sextant as trilateration because they want to take the sextant out of it. They want to take the angle measuring device out of this. They want to get into the conversation about GPS. And that's where that has to go with trilateration because, as we said, it is signals from the outside of your observer point going inwards. But with, like we keep repeating here, triangulation is what we're using because we're in the middle of these reference points looking outwards. We're measuring the angles, not the distances. It is triangulation with the sextant. So we have to get back to the basics. We have to get back to using the sextant. What is the sextant? It's an angle measuring device.
Yeah, I mean, sextants don't pick up microwave signals. They're not a microwave signal receiver, right? And there's no angles used in trilateration. So the two of them don't marry. That's it. They're cousins, aren't they? At best, that kind of way. They're cousins.
No,
They do the same thing. So but that
they
doesn't
do the same
mean,
thing, but using
yeah,
completely different methods.
yeah,
Triangulation is measuring angles. That's what we do with a sextant. Trilateration, measuring distances. A sextant measures angles and locates position on a calculated distance. So we have to find the distance. We don't have the distance with the sextant. With trilateration, you have to already have the distance.
yeah. So anyone who was saying you were wrong, anyone who was saying that Mitchell was wrong, is wrong, and they should just come out and admit it. When you're wrong, you should admit it. Like Mitchell was 100% correct to state that sextants use triangulation because every naval source and every nautical source will state it's triangulation. Every single one of them will state it's triangulation. None of them will call it trilateration because it's not. And I don't know why I have my suspicions why our opposition want to argue about that point. Maybe they want us to start talking about GPS and not start talking about the sextant. And yeah, I can argue GPS no bother, but that's not the point. It's the sextant is the hot topic, and if people don't want to deal with certain elements of the sextant and they want to start talking about trilateration and moving into GPS, it's kind of a tell, isn't it? Why? Why do you want to start talking about that when it's, why do you want to talk about that? What's wrong with this subject? Why hide from that? That'd be
It's
my
very
attitude.
telling, isn't it? Well, they want to move
Yeah.
away from what we're actually doing with the sextant, measuring angles,
Yes,
not measuring
exactly.
distances.
Yeah, elevation angles.
Elevation angles. That's even better. Yeah, the elevation angle point. Yeah, Quantum Eraser. He puts it perfectly. Elevation angles. You need a flat horizon. You know what? Keep talking, Brian. I'm going to get his.
Yeah.
I'm going to get his little video up.
What QE does is that he gets a lot of in-depth information, but he's looking for, and I learned it often myself. He's looking for the nugget of gold, the most simple argument and most devastating argument within that whole pile of rocks. He's looking for the nugget of gold, and then he'll know about the pile of rocks. He'll have all the information about the pile of rocks, but he'll keep on coming forward with the nugget of gold because that's the only thing that matters. Because the pile of rocks doesn't matter. It's the nugget of gold that matters. So elevation angle, what does that require? It requires a horizontal baseline. You can't take an elevation angle without a horizontal baseline. And if your horizontal baseline is extending several thousand miles in a straight line, it's hard for people to claim it's a globe, isn't it? If that's along the surface of the earth, how do you claim a globe after that? Because it's supposed to be 8 inches per mile of per mile squared of a drop. So elevation angle is a very simple argument, but it's very, it's devastating. There's no beating it. What are you going to say if you put yourself in the glober's position? What would you say to that? How do you say it's not true? You can't. It is. That's what an elevation angle requires, a horizontal baseline. Otherwise, you can't get it. You can't. There's no angle without a horizontal baseline.
Yeah, here it is right here on screen. I figured that up on screen. Just make sure that yep, that's up on screen. All right, so yeah, we've got elevation angles. Like this is from a flat level baseline. You can't get around this. This is the argument here. Flat level baseline. You need a flat level baseline. In this case, when using the sextant, it has to be to the horizon. That's what we're doing. The flat level baseline to the horizon, then we're measuring the angle from that. So he's got some definitions with the elevation angle. Angle of elevation, the upward angle from the horizontal to a line of sight from the observer to some point of interest. That's what we're doing with the sextant. Angle of elevation, the angle formed by the line of sight and the horizontal plane to form an object above the horizontal. It's a measurement of the elevation angle. These are all sources that you can look up yourself. Elevation angle is the angle between the horizontal plane and the line of sight measured in the vertical plane. Like these are two straight lines. You need the flat baseline and then you get the angle from it. It's over for the globe. just from that one point. There is just so much with the sextant that we can extrapolate from, but just this one point when using angle of elevation, elevation angle, it proves that we're looking at a flat plane.
Sorry for cutting on you now. What's really important there is the word horizontal, because then you're not just talking about flat. You're not talking about just a straight flat line. You're talking about horizontal, and horizontal means that you need a horizontal and an absolute horizontal and an absolute vertical to make a 90-degree. And that's the important thing. You need a 90-degree. Otherwise, your angle is not going to be correct. You can make an angle in any way you want, but unless you have that 90-degree, which is horizontal, you need a horizontal baseline. Not just straight. It has to be horizontal, which is more than just straight. So, without that, you're not going to be making a correct angle.
Yeah, and this depicts it well here. You're looking straight through the sextant here, that red dotted line, that's the horizontal. You're looking out of the horizon with that little mirror, the horizon.
Yeah.
What's the little mirror called? The
index mirror or the horizon mirror?
Yeah, it's literally called the horizon mirror. Yeah, that's it's as simple as that. Back to basics. It's the horizon mirror. You're looking at the horizon, the horizontal, that flat baseline, the red dotted line. If you're not looking in a straight line to the horizon, you can't achieve that angle. That blue dotted line there is no angle between the red and the blue there if you don't have that flat baseline looking at the horizon. Yeah. And that's what we're using. We're using the horizon. Is there any other way that we can use the sextant other than using the horizon? It's over right there for elevation angles.
And what I'd say to any flat earthers out there, you don't need to be an absolute expert on the use of every part of the sextant. I mean, you should learn about the different basic parts of the sextant, like the micrometer or things, about how the sextant works. And this point, elevation angles, this point, and what we're going to go into in a minute, that's our argument. A lot of our opposition, they'll go off and try and learn every single part about sextant use and all about the local hour varies and all this kind of stuff. All that stuff doesn't matter. That's all stuff. That's all stuff that you would need if you were using it at sea, and you need to find your way around. Yeah, the most important thing, our argument is not the local hour varies. It's not. That's not our argument. That doesn't make any difference to us. Our argument is that you need a horizontal baseline to make an angle to something in the sky, and that horizontal baseline then becomes a radius of a circle of equal altitude, and that horizontal baseline can be hundreds and thousands of miles in a straight line, and that horizontal baseline can be more than 4,000, often more than 4,000 miles in a straight line. So how does that work on a globe with a radius of 3,959 miles as an average? You know what I mean? It
Exactly.
doesn't. You
No,
know what I mean?
it doesn't. It just doesn't work. Before we get into that point there, so we know what an elevation angle is, an altitude angle. And what does sextant do? A sextant is a tool for measuring the altitude angle, elevation angle of a star above the horizon. In the hands of a practiced observer, the modern sextant can be used to measure elevation angles with an accuracy of 10 seconds. It's very accurate. It's within, if you're using the sextant to the best of its ability, you can be within a couple of 100 meters of your location. That is extremely accurate when, like you said, we're measuring literally thousands of miles to the GP point of that star. And that's only the radius. That is only, if we're 1,000 miles away from the GP point of that star, that's the radius. So you're on that circle of equal altitude. So that circle has a diameter of double that. So it literally can be thousands and thousands of miles of flat geometric plane that we're measuring with the sextant.
Exactly. I mean, if you're measuring 3,000 miles, 3,000 miles of a radius, then that becomes 6,000 miles of a diameter. And then you're doing it in two other directions where you're doing 2,000 miles in another direction. That's 4,000 of a diameter. And then you're doing 5,000 in another direction. That'll be 10,000 miles of a diameter or something like that. So you have these three ridiculous distances all along a flat plane. It's like there is nowhere to go for our opposition in this argument. They're going to keep fighting against it. They're going to want to talk about GPS and different things. And they're going to want to try and catch out flat earthers by asking them things like, what's the local hour of Aries? Stuff like that. It's like, it's only chaff and nonsense that's part of having to learn. Like obviously, there's way more to actually navigating with a sextant than just learning about a circle of equal altitude. You have to learn a lot more. You have to know the stars you're looking at. You have to know a lot of things. But the basics is, you need that 90 degree, for the G, you need a 90-degree angle to a 90 degree to make your angle, to get us a radius, and a radius is a straight line. I have been told already more than one time, I won't even name them out, people on our opposing side who've claimed curved radius lines. How can you claim a curved radius line?
I think they're going to have to give us a definition for the radius at that point. What is it? It's a straight line. No matter if you think it's going from a center of a piece of spherical Earth to the extremity, equidistant around a circle. You never ever have a curved radius. Like, how does that work? Because that's what they're asserting when putting this radius. When you've got a line of sight with the sextant, you're putting the radius to the GP. You're literally saying that is a curved line on a globe, on a curved surface. It does not work. You never have a curved line for a radius.
Well, it can't be a radius if it's curved, because you don't know what size your circle is then. The whole circle is based, a radius, you can create a circle off of a radius, or you can draw a circle and find the radius of the circle, but the radius has to be a straight line. Because how do you have a curved diameter as well? It's ridiculous. What about I mean, I don't know. There's just no answer to that. Like, I mean, being told a radius line can be curved on a globe, like, that's just pure lies at that stage, or just blatant stupidity. Like, I don't know where to go with that. How do you determine if this person is just trolling you or is dead serious? Because if they're dead serious about it, then what do you say? Like, I mean, the person needs, and I hate to say this, but the person needs help at that stage.
Yeah, is it ignorance or deception? And upon looking through, you can determine what we're actually talking about. We need to have citations and definitions of these things. We definitely can never get a citation of a curved radius line. And I want to get into how we're actually using the sextant. So I've got an image up on screen here. So obviously we know that there is a GP point to a star, to the surface of the Earth. We don't have to presuppose anything at this point. But upon using a 90-degree angle, that doesn't work on a curved surface. Like you said, we don't have a curved radius line from the observer to the GP, because that's what we're trying to find, that distance, that radius. You can't have that on a globe, on a curved surface. It has to be a flat surface. And then when we're using the sextant, we're attempting to get that. Oh, there it is. There's a slide. So we're using the sextant at an elevation. It's always at an elevation. We're never on that flat baseline. We never have the sextant in the water, directly in the water, looking up at a celestial body, something like the sun, moon, stars, whatever we're looking at. This diagram here shows exactly what we're doing with the sextant. We're always at an elevation. We're always at a height above sea level. So we need to account for that height, and that's where the dip angle comes in. Because when we account for the dip angle, we're not accounting for the line from the sextant to the horizon. That's what the globe wants us to believe, that we're looking down at a horizon. No, we're not doing that. We're accounting for this part here, the H, the height above sea level. And that's the deception here, because I'll go back to some slides previously. These are from flat Earth debunking sites showing that there is a dip angle. And yeah, there definitely is a dip angle from your horizontal here, because at altitude, when you're looking straight out, using something like a bubble, you're looking straight out. You've got your own parallel plane above that horizon there. So obviously there is always going to be a dip angle. This is from a plane here. And obviously you can use sextants from a plane. This is just a bottle of water here. You've got the water level and you're at elevation. And obviously that water level there at elevation has a different parallel flat plane to the actual horizon. There is a dip of the horizon. This is flat Earth debunking. This backs up the flat Earth. This tells us that there are definitely a dip angle to the horizon. So we need to account for that because of the height. That's what we're going to get into here. The height above sea level is the dip angle.
Yeah, like as I said earlier, when I first got into the very moment I got into flat Earth, one of the things that brought me in there was Eric Dubay saying that the horizon always appears to rise to eye level. And the reason is that sometimes you can be in an airplane and the horizon, because I was flying over Nevada and Utah, I think as well, it was so the horizon. I could see the horizon out on the left side windows and the right side windows. It was up above the tip of the wing, right? Where you see the wing there in that image. It was above the tip of the wing. Now in that image, it's way below, right? Because it appears to be, because the horizon is like if you're flying over Nevada, you're flying over desert, so you're not going to have clouds and weather, so you likely to be able to see further. So basically, because you could see further, the horizon appeared higher, but you're still 6 miles. If you're in an airplane, you're 6 miles above the surface of the Earth. So that means you're 6 miles above the basic horizon line. So that dip is always there. It will appear to rise to eye level, and as you rise, the horizon does rise with you because it stretches. The more you can see further, your angle of view is better. You can see further the higher you rise. So it's stretching out so giving the appearance of rising with you. But the thing about it is that that same plane journey there, let's just say, if the next day that horizon is not going to be in that same position, yet the plane is keeping the exact same altitude and the exact same place above the surface of the Earth, because the horizon is not a physical location, it's an optical location. But if you're above sea level, then you're above the horizon. If you're standing with your feet at the water edge looking out across the water, you're technically, whatever height you are, your eye line is that height above the horizon. So there is a dip to horizon. So exactly as you say, the horizon dip is not a thorn in the side of flat Earth. It's a support of flat Earth. Because
absolutely, it's a support of flat Earth.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just with that image there, I've pulled it down. I just want to bring up a little video from someone who claims they can use the sextant from an aeroplane. And I think we need a bit of verification on what we're actually doing when using the sextant in an aeroplane. This is from Wolfie 6020. I don't think I've got the...
Yeah, I think that's QE's video.
Right, I've got the wrong screen share up. Yeah, I do too. I'll keep talking while I pull it up. Sorry, Brian.
Yeah. But it's going to be from Wolfie, is it?
This is from Wolfie. So that image that I had up before.
Well, he's an expert on everything, supposedly. So, according to him, anyway, he's an expert on everything. So
I've.
If he can use, if he's, if he claims to be able to use the sextant, in the airplane, his bubble sextant, well, let's see it then.
Well, he's claiming that he can use. I'll just make sure that's on. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so that's up on the live stream now. So, as I was just saying about that image from altitude. Let's just. I don't think I've got the screen. I have to put the sound on this. Terrible screen sharing. I just I want to shout out a super chat before I do that. From Canabear. gives me $5 to say, using collective results shared on the internet, if enough people measure the same set of stars with a sextant, we can map the entire world in one night. And that's where I was going with this being the number one flat Earth proof, because we know we're mapping, we're measuring angles on a flat geometric plane, and if enough people doing it at the same time around the world at the same time, looking at the same stars, we can map the entire world as flat. It has been done. People have used the sextant all over the world to measure the angles to these stars, to measure the elevation angles, to measure the geometric flat plane, because that's what we're doing when we're correcting for the dip to the horizon. When we're correcting for the height above sea level, we're bringing that measurement from the sextant down to the surface of the Earth. And that is purely geometric. We're literally measuring the surface of the Earth as flat. And as that comment just said, if we get enough people at the same time, we can do this at the same time. Obviously, it's been done throughout history. There's people that have navigated all over the world using the sextant in one night, just using a few sextants, few people around the world. We can literally measure the entire world at the same time as absolutely flat, the entire known world. That is quite profound.
Well, what for me the strangest thing about the sextant is all the information that's in the almanac. It's so precise. Who gathered all that information? Like, was it a group effort over a period of a long time, or where did that information come from? It's so precise. It's difficult to believe we could do that now. Never mind centuries ago. It's
Yeah,
bizarre.
I mean, you've got the Antikythera device. Like,
Yeah,
how old is that thing? That is thousands of years old, and that had already, at that point of it being made, they already knew this information, and so they probably knew it for hundreds, if not thousands, years before that. And that's just a device to literally just map out the stars, map out the cycles of the stars. That just points to the fact that nothing's ever changed. We've got. I was talking to 10th Man yesterday. He was telling me information about the Nautical Almanac. He talks to people who produce these nautical almanacs, and he just says, like, why haven't we got a nautical almanac for longer than 100 years? And the bloke tells him, well, we can't make it a book thick enough. We know 1,000 years in the future. We know 1,000 years in the past where all these GP points of the stars are going to be. It just depends on the size of the book that you want to make. So we know 1,000 years in
yeah.
the future, 1,000 years in the past. It's
What it's going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I just want to play this from Wolfie. I think at this point, we need these experts, because Wolfie, he's a professional. He uses the sextant in a professional setting, and I just want everyone to listen to why he would use the sextant. Hopefully the sound is coming through. Can you hear that sound?
Yep.
This is just Wolfie trying to be funny at the start.
I am your father. Oh, it's recording. Hi, Wally. It's Wolfie6020. Sorry about that. I was just having a bit of fun. Celestial navigation with a sextant. You're going to need a globe for that. We have triple inertial reference systems, 2 aviation-grade GPS receivers, 4 crew iPads on the flight deck, 2 Garmin GDL50s, and a bad elf. It's dark and we're wearing sunglasses. But when all else fails, we have the ultimate backup, the sextant. And this never fails.
Brilliant. So at this point, we just need to know from professionals like Wolfie, how are we using that sextant? Are you going to confirm that we're using the horizon? Are we using the flat baseline? Are we measuring the geometric flat plane beneath our feet? I think at this point, we need the experts, the professionals that actually use these things. Like, we're just amateurs here. We're just saying how the sextant works. We're just telling everyone how it proves the flat Earth. But we need the professionals like Wolfie who actually use this in a professional setting, in an emergency setting, when all else fails, when you've got all that technology, when all else fails. He pulls out the sextant and the sextant never fails. So at that point, we need people like Wolfie 6020, people who are using the sextant, to come out and just let us know how you're using the sextant, especially at altitude. That's how I want to know. I want to know how we use the sextant at altitude. Are we looking at the horizon? Obviously, the horizon changes so much. You've got a massive dip correction. Are you accounting for the dip correction, Wolfie? Are you bringing that measurement down to the geometric flat plane? And that's where the conversation needs to go. Are we using the horizon with the sextant at altitude? And are we accounting for the dip angle? And let's go into the dip angle, Brian. I think we've been alluding to it for a bit.
Yeah, exactly. And I would like Wolfie to maybe make a video on that, because I'd like to know what it is he does with that sextant at 6 miles up in the air. Yeah. We'd all like to know.
Yeah, because what we're going to be talking about right now is the dip angle. You need to correct for the dip angle. And if you're not correcting for the dip angle, you're not getting a true reading with the sextant. I think everyone can agree on that.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see how Wolfie uses the sextant in the air. What way he works with that, or how that works. Has to work because they've been using it. So
exactly.
I want to share my screen. Yes.
Okay, you can share your screen. Yep, go for it. I'll get rid of mine.
You tell me when you should see mine.
Yep, got yours. Put it up now. Yep.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Okay. Okay, so this is a diagram I made some while back. The globe's horizon dip correction does not move the vertex of the angle to below the boat meeting the surface of the water. This is 3 lines here. You have the line to the star. You have a straight horizon right out here. I just drew that as a straight line. Then you have a horizon dip correction for the globe, which is down here, right? And why I show that, I'll come back to that in a minute. That's not 100% correct, but it just gives an idea. I just wanted to simplify it. So you have an horizon line, a star line to the star, and then you have this line, this dip correction, a globe dip correction, right? That comes down here, right? This is what they consider a dip correction. But it gets a bit more complicated than that. So there's 3 steps, right? So step 1, I'm just going to make the screen a little bit bigger. Step 1 of using a sextant is to take the angle between a celestial object and the horizon. So you have a little boat here. The angle goes up to the star, and the other angle then goes down to the horizon point, and out from the boat at the horizon across the water. So as you can see, that is not a right angle. You can't make a right angle here, because the line is coming down, doesn't have a 90 degree. So that's not a right angle. So step 2, the next step, is horizon dip correction. Step 2 of using a sextant is to perform a horizon dip correction, which is to take the original angle vertex and drop it down from the observer's eye line to the waterline underneath the boat. Warning, do not use step 2 on the globe model, right? This is not to be used on the globe model. It's never used on the globe model. So this correction here gives you the 90. As you can see, the purple, if you can see this purple angle I've drawn here, this is the original orange angle here, and I brought the vertex from the eye line of the person using the sextant here down to the water line. So now it's not optical anymore, it's geometric. You have a GP of the star here on the water, and you have a straight line from the water underneath the boat to that GP. And you have that same, then you have a correct angle back up here to the star. So that's the horizon dip correction. That's the actual one that mariners actually use in the real world, right? But then we go to, right, I'm calling it step 3, but this is not really step 3. On a globe, you must go directly to step 3, as step 2 is only used in reality and does not work within the globe model. Warning, not to be used with step 2, right? So the reason I'm saying this is that this here in step 2, this is the part that the globe avoids. They have to avoid this part, because as soon as they start talking about this, the correct horizon dip, right? What happens is then they no, they cannot claim a globe, because that means you have to make it 90 degrees with the GP, like that's the zenith of the star, making with the GP down here, and you have a straight line along the surface of the water here to underneath the boat, and that's your correct angle to the star. So then you have a correct 90 degrees, which is what you have to have. And if that distance from underneath the boat here to the GP of the star is 4,500 miles or something like that, then how are you going to work? How can you deal with that if you want to believe in a globe? You can't. So what happens is they avoid this like the plague. That's why I have warning: do not use step 2 on the globe model down here, because they avoid this like the plague. They never speak about it. They speak about everything but this.
That's
And if
brilliant.
you do, sorry,
that is brilliant. Yeah, do not use. You can't do it on a globe because you don't have a flat baseline on a globe. You got a curve. So like you said, you need to go directly to step 3 because that's. But you can't use it in reality.
You can't use this power, and this is reality. So if you want to believe in this, which is not reality, then you can't use that. You can't do this, right? Because what they want to do is bring the angle down to the center of their globe. That's what they're trying to do, which changes the initial angle from the surface anyway. It completely changes it, because if you have, I just show here, if that's your star here and you bring this angle here down to the center of a globe, then that widens out. As you can see, the lines of the angle widen out. So you end up with a star off over here, which is not, then it completely changes the whole initial angle, makes the whole thing, anything you do on the surface of the Earth, completely pointless if you're going to put an angle in the center of a globe. But that's besides the point for the moment. But
we'll just pause there for a second. Sorry, Brian. We'll just pause there for a second. I'll just bring up my images too. Like this is a kind of another representation, exactly what Brian's saying here. We're taking an angle from the sextant. It's above the level, the sea level. So yeah, like I said before, what the globers want us to focus on is that straight line from the sextant to the horizon. They think that's a dip right there. It is called dip angle, but it's not a dip to a physical geometric horizon, is it? It's not a physical location when we're looking at the horizon. What we're doing when we're accounting for the dip angle is accounting for the height above sea level. Because when we account for the height, you can see that it brings the error, the dip angle error, down to the geometric plane. And that's why they don't want to address this. Because upon correcting for the height, correcting for the dip angle, we are physically measuring with the sextant the geometric plane. It brings it down to the surface of the Earth with the flat baseline, with the 9-degree angle, and this is only achievable on a flat Earth.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll go back to your screen.
Yeah, am I showing?
Yep, it's back up.
Okay, so the thing about it is that what we have, what we have is, I go on to the next one here, right? This is, if you can't see it right, I can zoom in or make it bigger. I'll try and make it bigger, just for.
No, I think that's big enough. I'll just remove myself from the stream so you can make it a bit bigger. That's all good.
No, yeah, just so the audience can see it. So this is the initial angle here down to the GP of the star, right? And there's the angle up to the star. Now, what they do, right, is what they're trying. This is not what they do, right? But this is what they're not being honest with us, and this is so. It sounds like this is what they're doing. They are then, right? They call this line here the visible horizon, but this other line here that's going down here, they call that the real horizon that's going down to their geometric horizon. So they're saying that they take the initial angle and then they do the dip correction, but their dip correction is bringing that line here, which would be this kind of red line here, down here to where this purple line is, right? So, but there's the actual initial angle right here, right? And then you have the new initial angle after double dip globe belief is added in, which is this one, right? Right? You're making this big stupid angle here, right? That mean that right, once they do what they're claiming to be, basically on our side, what they're claiming to, or sorry, not on our side, but on our opposition on the anti-flat Earth side, what they're claiming is the horizon dip correction. So which angle is correct? The initial dip angle to the real optical horizon, or the secondary globe dip angle to a mathematical geometric horizon? And I don't know if they're being dishonest or they just don't understand the what's actually going on. I'm going to show now another thing here. I'll have to make this bigger. It's not very. It's just. It's a pity it wasn't better. It wasn't made by me. It's from an official source. But normally, what they call is, see what they're calling here, the true horizon. That's normally called the visible horizon. And there's the eye line here, right? And the dip they're calling what they're calling the dip angle is the eye line down to the geometric, what they call the apparent horizon down here, the geometric horizon. But what they're actually doing, I'm just going to open up here and get another line, right? What they're actually doing, and I just show, right? So this is the line they're bringing down, right? I'll make it a bit brighter, maybe red, and make it a bit bigger, a bit thicker, right? They're bringing the eye, this is what they're calling the dip correction, from the eye line down to their geometric horizon. But then this is what they'll show in some of the publications and different things. But that's not a correction for anything, because it means absolutely nothing, right? But what they have to do then is take this here, bring that down to there, right? And bring this up to here, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what has to happen in reality. So
Yep,
what
it's
they're
brilliant.
claiming to be a dip horizon, a dip angle correction, they're not correcting for anything other than their own. They're only correcting for their own geometric horizon, because all they're actually doing then is taking this, as I showed, down here and breaking the other end of it and moving it up here, and we're back to reality again, right? So it's total nonsense. It's like no matter what way they have to keep on calling the real horizon. I'll just make this a bit bigger. The real horizon, which is here, they have to keep on calling this real straight here from underneath the boat the visible horizon. And then they start calling the geometric horizon the apparent horizon or the real horizon, right? And it's all mathematical. And it's like I don't. It's hard for me to take on board that adults can try and spin such nonsense. It's like, this doesn't exist. There's nothing down here. It doesn't exist. When you're using the sextant, you don't ever have anything to do with the geometric horizon. How could you bring a dip down to the geometric horizon when it's something that's mathematical only, and they even say you can't see it? You can't see it because it's not there. You can only see the visible horizon, which is the real horizon.
Yeah,
So
black swan.
Yeah,
That's where the black
exactly.
swan comes into it. Are we looking at the geometric horizon? Have we got a tangent to a curved line here? Because that's what they're trying to do. When they're saying there's a dip angle, a dip correction, they're trying to put a tangent onto a curved surface. All we're doing is accounting for the height above sea level, which brings it down to a geometric measurement, brings it down to that flat baseline, as you just showed perfectly. We're measuring a flat geometric plane right there. Sums it up perfectly. Brilliant, Brian.
Yeah, because this is what's really happening. What's really happening is the vertex of the angle, which is at the eye line of the sextant user, is just brought down to there. Exactly like you showed with your slides, is exactly what's happening. You're just bringing it straight down to the water underneath the boat. And that's why you need a 90 degrees. Your baseline has to be horizontal, not just straight, because this is a straight line, this orange line going down here. That's a straight line, but it's not horizontal. Horizontal is horizontal with the horizon. It's level, horizontal, same thing, with the horizon. So you have a horizontal level line, straight line, that gives you a distance, a correct distance to the GP of the star or whatever for that exact time, and location that you're at. So that's what you have. like whatever, hundreds, thousands of miles, whatever it is, that is your distance to the GP of that star. And the only way for you to get a correct angle and a correct elevation angle is to bring the vertex down to the waterline. So whatever they're doing with their with this stuff, where they have this nonsense here, this line going down here as some kind of a dip angle. If they want to correct it, they have to do what I just did there with this line here. They have to just put it on the waterline. So
that's a brilliant point, because what we're doing is putting that. We're bringing that height. We're bringing the height of the observer with the sextant in his hand down to the surface of the Earth, and we've got a flat baseline. So what you just showed there, the true horizon goes directly onto the surface of the Earth. That is the flat baseline of this measurement, and it's going to where? To the horizon. Where's the tangent going to be pointing then? You can't be pointing the tangent to that curve. The curved surface doesn't exist at that point. It is not a geometric curve. It is not a geometric sphere.
Yeah, because what has to happen then is this. Your correction means that line is on then the water, and this goes up here to the star. Do you know what I mean?
That's brilliant doing it live. That's a great setup, Brian. It's a great visuals. Like, this is what people need to understand through these visuals. This is what they claim to be doing on the globe. And what needs to be done with the sextant is, all you need to do is bring that height above the surface of the Earth down to the Earth. You've already measured the angle. You've already got the measurement. And you need to just bring that down to the surface of the Earth. Not available on a globe. It doesn't go to the GP point of the star at that point. If it's on a curved surface, it doesn't go to 90 degrees to where the star is.
Well, just to add some more fuel to the fire here, you won't find in any almanac, any almanac, right, the correction for this. You won't find it. It doesn't exist. What you will find is the correction for that. I just make that a different color, just so it makes it right. You will find a correction for this blue line here, but you won't find a correction for this. That doesn't exist.
No,
the corrections are for here.
Yes.
Yeah, the corrections are for there. So, and the corrections are for right here.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. That's what we're measuring. That's exactly what we're measuring when we're using the sextant. Yep, that blue line is to the horizon, where you've got the horizontal mirror directly at the horizon, that blue line, and then we've got the angle from the blue line, that straight line to the horizon. We've got the angle to the star, that green line. That's the angle, and we're bringing that vertex of where the green and the blue line meet. We're bringing that down to the surface of the Earth. We're bringing both those down to the height above sea level. That's all we're correcting for. We're putting that angle onto the surface of the Earth.
Exactly. This blue line, the eye line here down to what they call the true horizon here, right, which is correct. It is the only horizon that exists. Down here, right, the correction is bringing that down here and bringing this down to meet it.
Yeah,
that's the correction. Not
perfect representation.
Not this stupid red line here.
No,
like,
that's
there's nothing in. Yeah, well, there's nothing in any almanac for that. Like, if that was in the almanac, then your corrections would be all over the place. You'd never get to where you want to go. Sure you wouldn't. Sure, like, what is like the geometric horizon? Like, so how far below this true horizon is it? I mean, what kind of angle are you going to have after that? It's just total nonsense. All they're doing is taking this blue line here, right? And they're stating it's going down here, but the corrections are only for here. And then they're bringing the other end of it down here. But they're claiming that it's going down here, and then they're bringing that up and this down.
And let's just not take our word for it. I'm gonna screen share my screen now, Brian. I'm going to put up some references on how what we're actually doing. So with the dip correction. So this is from This is from Celestial Navigation, sextant angle correction. So obviously there's a few corrections that you need to do. It's the first one is the index correction, the index error, which is just making the two mirrors line up, so the horizon is straight in the two mirrors. And then you've got the dip, or the D correction, height of the eye correction, right there, height of the eye correction. If you're taking the sextant readings from a bridge of a ship, then you're going to be getting, you're going to get a different sextant reading to if you were on a small yacht, or inversely on the surface of the Earth. You're not doing it from the surface of the Earth. That's why it's called height of eye correction. Therefore, we need to make a correction to what your sextant says to get your reading converted to a sea level reading. That's exactly what we've just been talking about. You need to convert that reading, what you're getting from the sextant, from an elevation, from a height, and you need to convert it to a sea level reading. This is called dip angle. This is called dip, or an adjustment for your height of eye. Exactly what we've just been saying, Brian. If we're not accounting for the dip to the horizon, we're accounting for the height of the eye. This is called a dip or adjustment for your height of eye. That's all we're doing. Nothing to do with the horizon at that point.
Exactly. It's your height of eye above sea level. That's all you're accounting for. Not your eye. Sorry.
Yeah, the deception is that after using the sextant with the horizon, that's the part where we use the horizon. We use the sextant to measure an angle from the horizon to the star. And then when we've got that angle, we've already got it. We don't need the horizon at that point. Then we need to just adjust for our height. We're not using the horizon anymore. The dip angle is not an angle to the horizon at that point. It is just the adjustment for the height of the eye. And then upon doing that, like we've said, we're putting that angle on to the surface of the Earth. We've got that flat baseline from the surface of the Earth to the GP point, and that is literally the physical measurement of our geometric flat Earth.
Yeah, because your dip correction is not from your eye line down through the water surface to some mathematical place that you want to believe exists. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if they want to correct this dip, it brings up this side of the straight line and down that side, and they end up with a straight line along the top.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and then the other straight line will go up to the star. You know, it's complete and utter nonsense. It's like, let's believe that this happens, even though in reality, this never is, that we don't ever do this. That's all it is, isn't it?
Yeah, we need to use these guides. We need to use reality. We need to get out of imagination land, what we think we're doing, and we need to get into what we're actually doing. This is another reference, Mach 3, how to find your position with the Mach 3 sextant. And it goes through the index error correction here. So if you've got an index error, you need to correct for that. See those two horizons with the two different mirrors, they need to line up. That's the index error correction. And then you need to account for the height of the eye. So that shows it again. So the height of the eye, but it's got a curve. So that's the deception here. They've got the description of the height of the eye. That's what we're correcting for. But then they've got this little diagram. This is where it all goes astray, because people are very visual learners. If you've got a description, you have to think about it. But if you've got a visual, you don't have to think about it. You're just looking at something. And if you see a diagram like this, it looks like you're using, it's a dip angle correction from the observer to the horizon. No, you've already got that angle. That it takes this out of it. All we're adjusting for is the height of the eye, this part right here, these two parallel lines, height of the eye to the surface of the Earth. And it says here, height of the eye. When measuring the altitude of the sun, we want to measure the angle formed by a ray of the sun and a plane tangent to the Earth at the point where the observer is standing. Due to the height of the eye of the observer, however, the visible horizon actually falls below this theoretical plane. So even in the description, they're trying to say that it is to do with the horizon, but it's all due to the height of the eye. Right there. Correct for the height, in bold here. To correct for the height of the eye, one must apply dip correction. So it gets very convoluted. It gets very confusing. But you just need to understand that it's to correct for the height of the eye, one must apply dip correction. That's what dip correction is.
Well, if you look at any correction from any of the nautical almanacs, there'll be no corrections, as I said earlier. There'll be no corrections for that eye line down to a geometric horizon. The correction will only be for the height of your eye down to below the surface of the water. So that's why it's important what height you are off of the water. So if you're standing on a boat, a smaller boat, let's say 30 foot long and you're 10 feet, your eye line is 10 foot above the water, you're correcting for that 10 foot. If you're on a Navy ship, you're correcting for maybe 50 or 60 foot. If you're on a big, a big tanker or something, big oil tanker or something, you're correcting for higher again, maybe, or something. Like a cruise ship. But that's what you're correcting for. You're not correcting for your eye angle down to a geometric horizon that doesn't exist.
No, it's already done. You've already got that. You've already got that angle. Take the angle measuring device out of it. That's at that point you've already got the angle. All right, you've used the sextant. All you're accounting for is the height of the eye. Take the horizon back out of it. Take that visual representation here is totally incorrect. It is all to correct the height of the eye. You must apply dip correction. And sorry, you go.
Let's just say the latest video from BLMSB 69, where he shows how he can see past and underneath from a 1.5 foot elevation. He's seen about 30 miles, right? So let's just say he was taking an angle with a sextant from there, and that was his horizon now past, let's say past 20 miles, right? So, and he took an angle to a celestial object, right? And he brought obviously one line up to the celestial object and the other line down, slightly down to the water line, right? And he corrects for what then? A foot or a foot and a half, whatever he is above the water. But if he has to correct for a geometric horizon at distance, what kind of a correction will that be?
Yeah, exactly. We're not.
The horizon is a moving thing. It's never going to stay in one position. So if you're correcting for your angle to the horizon and you're 1 foot above the horizon, above water line, so you're correcting for 1 foot above, you're correcting for 1 foot above the horizon. But if you're talking about a geometric horizon, globe geometric horizon, then what kind of an angle is that going to be? The globe geometric horizon is going to be, what's 20 miles? 20 by 20 by 8. You're going into, let's find out. Let's just do this. 1 second now, right?
And while you're going into that, as you were saying that about BMLSB 69, I pulled up another reference using the Nautical Almanac to what dip correction is, and this goes hand in hand with Black Swan, with what BMLSB was doing. The dip correction, the error is due to the height of the eye above sea level. The dip is equal to 1.775 times the square root of observer's height. This is in meters. If you convert that back to feet, that's the Black Swan argument. 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That it goes hand in hand here. Isn't that interesting? That the dip, when we're talking about the dip angle, it talks about the limitation, the geographic limitation, geometric limitation.
Well, the drop value for 20 miles, if you were talking about a globe Earth, is 266.6 feet. So if we did a dip angle correction from being 1.5 foot above the water line, then you're talking about 268 feet or something like that. If he's going down to a geometric horizon.
Yeah.
I mean, well, can you show me any table from any almanac that accounts for that nonsense?
No.
Doesn't happen.
Well, we've got this correction table for dip of the horizon. This if you convert this to feet, so it's got 0.3 meters, so that's 1 foot, and it's actually got the distance to the horizon 1.2 nautical miles, but it's got the correction on the altitude here, right there.
Yep.
So if we're using this with BMLSB's bows, latest observation of the Black Swan, this blows it out of the water.
Yeah.
Like distance to the horizon, 1.2 nautical miles. That we're seeing 30 miles. Well, to
Yeah.
convert to nautical miles, it might be maybe 20, 25 nautical miles, whatever you want to convert. It's not 1.2 nautical miles. That's what his observer height is. Maybe 0.5 meters. It's definitely not 1.4 nautical miles here. What are we correcting for if we're using this geometric horizon? It does not work. We have to just account for the eye height above the sea level. That's all we're correcting for.
Yeah, I mean, they're giving a distance to the horizon, but that they're still treating the horizon, they're still treating the where you're looking at as being just sea level. They're not, even though they're giving a distance to the horizon with 1.2 nautical miles from a 0.3 of a meter above it. It's still they're still referencing a flat plane, because the corrections show that they're referencing a flat plane. Do you know what I mean? So if you're, let's say it's 20.7 meters above, right, and the distance to the horizon is 9.4 nautical miles, it's minus 0.08, I can't read that right, degrees. So it's like they're just giving, like, does that match, right? Let's just see, let's go down a bit to find 20, around 20, around
20 meters.
18, around 18 nautical miles, around 18 nautical miles.
Okay, nautical miles. We'll go to nautical.
Yes.
It doesn't even have it. Look, this is
No,
the
11.6.
biggest. Yeah, so we've got 31.6 meters, and it only goes to 11.6 nautical miles. So
I suppose you're not going to be much higher than 31.6 meters.
probably not. So that
No.
that demonstrates how high you on a globe on if you've got a geometric horizon, if you've got a physical limit to the horizon, if you think you're on a globe, look at this. You have to be 31 meters above sea level, and you're only getting at 11.6 nautical mile. Like, where's 30 miles is way down there. You have to have another couple of tables here. How high
Yeah,
above the sea level do you have to be to get that?
Yeah, so just going to say, does any of those corrections fit a geometric horizon?
No.
Where the geometric horizon would be from that person's eye height?
No.
You know, that's the problem. None of them fit it. They fit a distance based on a globe, but they're still, the dip is only to a flat sea level. If you know what I mean. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, a flat sea level.
Yeah.
I'll put I'll screen share the other images that we had up before. So we've got, well, not that one. Not that one. Keep talking, Brian. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull up the other images.
No worries. Yeah, but that's the thing about it. The dip, like
this one, here we go.
the dip,
All right,
the correction has to match the dip. If you know what I mean. Exactly. The correction has to match the dip. Yeah, the height. So if you're correcting for a dip to a geometric horizon, then a geometric globe horizon, then you're going to be correcting for a lot more than just that height above the water underneath the boat, aren't you? You're correct. Like, if they have a correction in there for whatever degrees, then that has to match. If they're trying to claim a geometric horizon, then that has to match what the correction you'd have to make, because the geometric horizon is going to be way lower.
Yeah, Adam Macon puts in the comments here, the angle is equal to 1.22 times theta times distance. That dip value also relates to the Rayleigh criterion optical resolution. Isn't that weird? Isn't that wonderful how it comes out to, you keep getting these recurring numbers when talking about the horizon, the 1.22.
Yeah.
It all ties into each other. It's order deception, and to do with angles. All we're doing, looking at this diagram here, all we're doing is accounting for that height. It's nothing to do with any. You've already got the angle. You've got that. You're just accounting for the height, and you're putting it onto the flat baseline, right there on the surface of the Earth.
Yeah, I'm like, as I said with Bo from BLMSB 69, from a 1 foot elevation height, if he's just using, let's say the horizon is just past that the oil platform at 20 miles, then he would have to correct for the drop value from where he is on a globe is 266.6 feet. So he'd have to add his height above the water as well. You'd be talking about 268 feet of a dip down that he's supposed to be correcting for. And like in any of those almanacs, where is the correction that matches those kind of things?
Yeah,
they
exactly.
don't.
And leading on from that,
sorry.
Yeah, and leading on from that, we can determine these. You've got a zenith angle. So when we're talking about doing angle measurements, like you've not only got a GP from the sun to the surface of the earth, which is 90 degrees, you've also got your zenith angle as well. And this is just another point that we're doing this on a flat surface. We've got two vertical lines here, the two zeniths, the GP of the sun to the surface and the zenith right above your head, 90 degrees. These are two 90-degree angles on the same flat plane. That's where you can extrapolate this out from.
Yeah, they're parallel lines, parallel zeniths.
Parallel lines.
Yeah,
parallel zeniths. Yeah, you've got your zenith, and you've got the GP of the star. 290 degrees only available on a flat geometric plane. That doesn't happen, like you said, on a curved surface when you've got all that curvature you have to account for. You're not dipping. You're not backing away yourself from the GP point of a star that is 20, 30 thousands of miles away from you. They're two vertical lines on a flat geometric plane.
Yeah, well, you're basically making a box where you have two 90-degree angles where their baselines meet at the center. And you're at one of them. You're at the vertex. You're at one of these angles, one of these 90-degree points, and the GP of the celestial body is at the other. And the line that you make from your position to whatever angle that GP is at, or whatever that star is at, that gives you your angle. It gives you your distance. It's just a box, basically. It could be a rectangle. Depends. It can be a box. It can be a rectangle. It depends on how close or far away the star is from you. So, but you still has to be 290 degrees. Can't
has to be
be
290 degrees.
Yeah.
And I think it was you that kind of made me click to this example here, that you have to, those two zeniths, like the GP of the celestial body and your zenith, they're 290 degrees. They are parallel lines when doing this with celestial navigation. Just another little fun fact when using the sextant with celestial navigation, you have to have 290 degrees. None of those 90 degrees are available on the globe. Both of them are available on a geometric flat plane. And this is a great picture of what we're doing with the sextant here. We've got two 90-degree angles. The GP is going to be 90 degrees. The zenith is 90 degrees. You've got, like you said, you're creating a box here. You can't create a box with two 90-degree angles. It's really four 90-degree angles, because you can, if you want to go further than that and have a flat celestial plane at the top.
Yeah, because like we were speaking about it the same day as you brought out your video about how the sky, it suggests, this sextant you suggest that the sky is flat, is a flat plane. Because the thing about it is that as I go back to the example we were talking about earlier, if I'm standing and I have a star at my zenith, and you are at a distance from me, let's say you're 2,000 miles away, and you have a star at your zenith, and to me, the star at your zenith is 35 degrees or 45, 50 degrees, whichever, and you have an equal view to the star at my zenith, and it's the same, let's say they're both 50 degrees or whatever, right? Whatever 2,000 miles would be. So, like, we're looking at both of those stars, and to me, it's not at 90 degrees. It's lower at that. It's 50 degrees, and for you, it's the star above my head is at 50 degrees as well. But from your perspective and my perspective, they're at 50 degrees. But when we look straight up, they're at 90 degrees. So what does that suggest? It suggests that it's purely perspective. I don't see a curved sky. I see optical drop of celestial objects as they move away from you, or as you move away from them, they appear to drop. Because the distance between that celestial object and the surface of Earth, right? Well, I call it angular free space. That shrinks, basically. That area shrinks as with distance. So that's really all that's happening there. So if I had to put money on it at this stage, I would put money on the sky being a flat plane and not a curved surface.
Well,
Or
that's where you take this. That's where you take this argument, don't you? You've got two 90-degree angles at the base here on the flat geometric plane. You must have two 90-degree angles at the top where those vertical lines are meeting something at the top. Doesn't mean we have a height to it. Doesn't mean we have a distance to it. All it means is that's how it presents itself. Obviously, yeah, you as you say that when we're looking out at the celestial objects, they move in a dome-like shape motion, but when you're looking straight above you, if you're doing a star trail east-west, they move in straight lines. It's just when you're looking north or you're looking south, they create that circular motion. Now, we don't need an explanation for that. Do we need to explain what we're seeing there? If we don't explain it, does it not happen? No, it always happens. We don't need to explain it. But the ballers, they have a claim. We don't have a claim to why that happens. The ballers definitely have a claim to why it happens. It's because of the rotation of the Earth. And obviously, that has never been proven. When we're asking for proof of the rotation of the Earth, they always go to the heavens. That is not, looking up is not a proof to what you're standing on. But I'm kind of digressing here. But yeah, it's kind of a similar point. We can extrapolate out here from using the sextant, two 90-degree angles on the ground here, on the flat geometric plane. You must have two 90-degree angles at the top. That is a flat celestial plane.
Well, I mean, Adam Meakin some years ago, he showed us a couple of times. He made a little working model of a flat sky with stars on it, rotating around a non-rotating flat surface underneath. And it looks exactly like what we see in the sky, the same effect. It's like you take a 60-story building. The further that building moves away from you, or you move away from that building, the smaller it gets. Now, if you take that building away, that same amount of space, let's just say if you take the building away and just hover your drone where the top of that building would be, and you move your drone back, just as you showed many times, right? The distance between the surface of the Earth and the drone will shrink. That angular free space gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And eventually, your drone, across a flat plane, your drone will appear to be on the ground at a distance, when it won't be. It'll still be the same height, or holding the same altitude above the surface. It's just this. It's just the same elevation. It's just that that piece of angular free space just shrinks and shrinks and shrinks and shrinks to the point where, like, you have to remember, like, if you're standing like unless you're up on a height, but if you're standing any kind of a medium height on the topography of Earth, and you're average height of a person, how tall can someone get? 8 foot? You know what I mean? That's nothing, like, as far as for your angle of view to something in the distance. Like, I mean, something is going to appear to reach the ground from your perspective purely because your angle of view is so limited. But if you go higher, that the Earth stretches out further from you. The higher you go, the more it stretches out, and it just shows then, because it stretches out further, that it appears that the horizon's rising, but the horizon's not rising. It's just a case of your angle of view. Like, look where you are there. How limited is your angle of view there? You're looking across water, but you couldn't see too much further from that location, from that height, if you know what I mean. I'm just going to search for something here now. 1 second. I'll chat away to me. I'm just looking for a video that I have saved.
Oh, I was muted. Sorry, I was chatting. So you've got the drone above my head. This is what Brian was just describing. I've got my drone above my head, and all I do is push the out stick, the forward stick, not changing the altitude, not changing the height of the drone above. And I've got a little theodolite app on my phone, and it's as the drone moves away from me, it's changing angle. As it moves further, it appears to go converge down towards the horizon. We know that drone is staying at the same height. All I'm doing is pushing the forward stick on the controller, and eventually the drone appears to set. It's either going to get too small, the angular resolution is going to get too small that we can't see the drone, or if we can still see it, it's going to appear to go beneath the horizon. That's all we're doing when we're looking at these observations here. This is from my video, the #1 flat Earth proof that Brian was talking about. Have you got what you needed, Brian?
Yeah, it's just a video. I won't. What I'll do is I'll just scrub through the video. I won't play it much. It's just a short YouTube video, but it just shows exactly what we're talking about with the horizon.
Were you going to screen share?
Yeah, I'll share. I'm just going to share my screen and play it, but I won't have any sound. But I just scrub through it.
That's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So
in the meantime, yes, this stream is live, Brenda. We are live here. there's a dispute in the chat. I haven't been following it too much. Sorry, guys, in the chat. This stream is live, so yeah, you are on, Brenda. But anyway, back to the content.
Yeah, so this is a TV tower, and let's see if I can just. So this is a TV tower. I'll have to just play it on a little bit, a few seconds here and there. As you can see, right, look at the speed he's moving at, and the horizon continues. Now it gets to a point where let's go to here, right? Now, as you can see, there's a man up here, and he's climbing a thing, and he's going to get to the top down now in a second. Bring him to the top now, or close to the top. So look how high the horizon appears to be, but it's just stretched out. That's all that's happened. So it appears to rise up, but when they're down on the ground, down lower, down here, look, you can only see out to here. But when it plays, you see further and further, and it appears to rise. But it's not rising. It's just the distance you can see is further. You know, I won't keep playing it in case you get a strike, but that just shows it. It just stretches further out and further out and further out. No matter how high it goes, you just keep stretching further out and further out and further out. So it gives the impression that it's I'll unshare there, but it just gives the impression that it's rising when it's not really rising. It's just you're seeing more of it, you know, because when you're standing on the ground, you just have a horizontal view. It's like a horizontal line, but when you go higher, you have an angle, then an angled view to the ground, and that just changes everything. You know, you still have a horizontal, but you have an angle view. How much of an angle view you have at a 5.5 foot high eye line? You don't have much of an angle. You just have a horizontal view. So, you know, on a globe, that horizon would be going down the way, not up the way. It wouldn't continue stretching out like that. It would stretch out and go down. It has to go down. It has to go the opposite way from the person that's going up. It can't keep going up with the person. As the person goes up, that has to go down. You know, that is the dynamics of a ball. You know what I mean, isn't it? I think you're on mute. You're on mute for me.
Yep, there we go. Yeah, I know, exactly. Yeah, I love where this is going, Brian. Is there anything else you think? Oh, hang on, I've got a video from Adam. Keep talking. Oh, the start. Yeah, this is the video that you said that Adam did. It's in Skype. Hang on, I'll try and pull it up. Try and screen share that. Where Adam creates that
The little model,
Definitely
yeah,
not
of the
load.
sky, the flat
Yeah,
sky.
the little model. Yeah,
Yeah.
window. Hopefully Skype's going to be able to share here. Yeah, here we go. All right, this is the little model that Adam Meakin created.
Yeah, I mean,
So
that's what
yeah.
we observe.
And obviously this isn't on a globe. This isn't on a curved surface. He's got a flat celestial plane and he's on a flat surface. Demonstrations like this, it is brilliant.
To be nice to
See the
have on your
rotation?
ceiling, wouldn't it?
And we've got a rotation point in the sky. If this is the stars rotating, we've got a rotation point. Does that mean
Yeah.
that we're rotating on a globe? No. We've got a stationary camera and we've got stars rotating above our heads.
Yeah, it is excellent. I mean, well, the whole globe model is anti-experience, isn't it? Everything you experience is the opposite from what the globe tells you that is reality. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and you
We just need to get back to reality. That's what Flat Earth School is all about. It's getting back to
Yeah.
reality, getting back to our own observations that we can see through our own eyes. Gadget Inspector wants me to tell you, Brian, that you're doing a fantastic job.
Thanks, Gadget
You're
Inspector.
getting good. You're getting great praise in the chat, mate. Like this presentation today with you here live has been awesome. Do you think there's any other points that we need to hit here? I think we've hit some major points here, and hopefully we've triggered some professionals that use the sextant into actually showing us how the sextant works. Are we amateurs here? Do we not know what we're talking about? How are we using the sextant, especially with Wolfie? I want to know how we use the sextant in a plane. Are we using the horizon? Are we doing a dip angle correction? And if we are doing a dip angle correction, the height above the surface of the Earth, are we putting that measurement that you're using with the sextant onto the flat geometric plane? Is that what we're doing? I think if we need a bit of clarification about from people who are actually using these things, the sextant, the angle measuring device.
Yeah, well, surely Wolfie will make a video on it because he definitely would do that. He likes to make videos. So he would definitely make a video on that topic, I would say, for definite.
I think Mr. Sensible even said something about different sorts of sextants as well in the chat just before. So I'm expecting some videos from the globe side. If you think this is happening on the globe, just show us how you're using the sextant. Just show us your understanding. Show us, are you using the horizon? Are you using dip angle correction? And if you're doing that, you're putting that on a flat geometric plane. I don't think they're going to make videos about that because this is devastating. They don't want to get into the dip angle correction.
Well, whatever way they're using sextants from airplanes and whatever else, maybe they're using it different than you use it from a ship, but they should show us. I mean, Wolfie says he uses it, so he should show us what he does. He should surely make a video on it, because he is in the argument. And as far as the horizon dip correction goes, that is the thing that the globe side are avoiding. They continually avoid the horizon dip correction because their dip correction goes down to a geometric horizon. So they have got to show with all the corrections in the almanacs how all those corrections correct for a dip from the eye line to a geometric horizon. So what would like, as I said, with BLM SB 69 at 1.5 foot above the waterline, if he was to use a sextant there and correct for an angle down to a geometric horizon, the geometric horizon would be a drop down to 266 feet below his horizontal. And if you add on his 1.5 foot above it, you'd be talking about 268 feet of a dip to correct for. Now, something tells me that there's never going to be, from a 1.5 foot observer height, you're never going to have in any almanac a dip for 268 feet. You know, a correction for a dip down to 268 feet below you. You know, it is, you know, it doesn't happen. So if the almanacs are not correcting for a geometric horizon, a dip to a geometric horizon, then why are they showing us the horizon dip to a geometric horizon, when the real horizon dip is just the vertex of the eye, or the vertex of the angle from the eye line down to the water underneath the boat? That's the thing the globe side will not address. They won't address that. They'll talk about everything. They want to talk about every single part of how the sextant works. Who cares about the local hour varies? Who cares about all that? That's not the argument. The argument is what's happening with this dip correction, because that takes things from optical and makes them geometric. What's happening with that? That's the important part, isn't it?
The killer blow. This is what we're signifying here. We're taking reality. We're taking an optical measurement and we're making it geometric when we're accounting for the eye height above sea level. Apparently, we've got Brenda in the chat saying, why don't we come on Bob the Science Guy channel and learn something? Apparently he's willing to explain to us. Yeah, Bob's emailed me multiple times. And on my Patreon, there is a option to get me onto someone's channel. I'm doing this full time now. As of, there's a bit of an announcement that I'm not too proud to say. As of yesterday, I have been terminated from my position at work. I no longer have employment from work. So this is literally my only source of income. So Bob the Science Guy, if you want to debate me on your channel, Fight the Flat Earth, if you want to debate me on your channel, 2 people have recently emailed me. McToon, if you want to debate me on your channel, go to my Patreon. I offer that service, that educational service, because I am a professional educator. Brian is a professional educator. We are here to educate people. We are just telling you guys how these things work and where it leads to. If you want to debate us on your channel, we've got options. We need a monetary value. We're not going to be wasting our time by being muted, by being have clips played over the top of us. If you want to debate us on your channels, we're available. You can go to my Patreon. The link's in the description below. As I said, I'm doing this full time now. As of yesterday, I've been terminated from my position at work. I no longer have employment, so I'm available. Get me on. Get Brian on. Get Arwen on. Get 10th Man. Anyone will come on your channels, but we're not doing it for free. That's the difference. We are willing to debate you guys. We're willing to talk to you guys, but we're not doing it for free anymore. The argument is over. We have proven that we live on a geometric flat plane. We've proven the flat Earth. There's no longer a debate, but we're willing to talk to you guys, but not for free.
Yeah, well, the problem is that our side of this argument have been in the poorhouse for too long, where we go on to our opposition's channels, they get all kinds of super chats, and they have loads and loads and loads of subscribers because they're not being blacklisted by YouTube. And they get, regardless of how good or bad the debate goes, they get a financial reward out of it. And all I ever got was basically my time wasted on most of the, no, I can't say every time, but most of the times I ended up having my time wasted. So if I'm going to have my time wasted and I'm going to be muted or talked over or have super chats coming up on the screen saying this guy is an idiot and blah blah blah, if I'm going to have to put up with all that, then I'm going to need some serious cash money to do that. I'm not doing that anymore. I don't need, Mitchell doesn't need, none of us need these opposition's channels. They're not furthering anything. Nothing is moving forward with the people we've been arguing with. So we don't need your channels. If you want us on your channels, we'll go on, but it's going to cost cash, and not a small bit of cash, serious cash, because I don't have any need to be on Craig's channel or Bob's channel or any other channel. I don't need to be on them. For me to go on to them for free from here on in would be absolutely pointless. I've been too many times I've done that, and it doesn't change anything, because if I'm going to go onto someone's channel and they're going to be telling me gravity is a force, air has weight, things like that, air has weight, gravity is a force, the geometric horizon is real, all these kind of things. If I'm going to have to deal with that kind of nonsense, right, I could just as easily talk to someone on a comment section in YouTube and get the exact same answers. I don't need to go onto your channel to hear these things. So if you want me to be listening to that for 2 hours of my life and 2 hours of my time, and have a lot of people sending in negative super chats about me and writing a lot of negative stuff about me in the comment section, then coming to my channel and writing a lot of negative stuff about me.
Yeah.
And the host, sometimes, not all of the hosts, but some of the hosts, won't name who, they get off on basically abusing you. Then I'm like, my fee, right? I'm not ashamed to say it. My fee is €5,000 for 2 hours. So that's what it is. You want me on your
That's a
channel?
discount rate.
€5,000. Yeah.
I've got 5,000 Australian dollars for 1 hour, so that's a great discount rate for 2 hours, Brian. And I just want to put it to you ballers. You need us. You are making money from us, so we're going to be making money from you. If you want us on your channel, we're going to be making the money, not you guys. You're not going to have the super chats rolling in, and you sit back after the show reading the super chats, and we're being muted. We've been talked over. We've been abused. We're not going to be doing that anymore. You need us. You are not relevant without us, ballers. We're in this conversation right now. Me and Brian are just having a conversation about how we view things in reality, how we are using reality to shape what our understanding of our world is. We have proven it is a geometric flat plane. There is no debate anymore. So if you want to say that you're debating us and make money from talking over the top of us, from using us to make your money, we're going to be making the money. And there's no shame in that. Because, like I said, this is my full-time job now. As of yesterday, I no longer have employment. For whatever reason, for the situation of the world at the moment, this is where a lot of us find our work ourselves. I just want to shout out a few super chats. Tight and Long, not much money, but he understands that work's not easy. It's not free. Good show and good day to us. All people, free people, says, well done, friends, for $5. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Smash the super chat, sign up to Patron, purchase my wife's book. Brian, where can people donate to you? Where can people follow you? Have you got things set up on your end?
Donations, like a PayPal or
have you got a PayPal for people that like this stream, that like your work, that want to contribute to the time and effort that we're putting in? Because we're professional educators.
I can give you a PayPal. I don't have that on my channel for that, but I can give you a PayPal if you want it. I can.
Yeah, go to Brian. Get in contact with Brian. Brian, myself, we're all putting this information out. We're doing it for free. We're not expecting a monetary value. But if Globus, if you're emailing us, know that it's going to cost you. We're not doing it for free. We're not making you money, because without us, you are irrelevant. We don't need you. We're going, look at this stream. Me and Brian have been talking for 2 hours. We haven't need to bring up ballers until right now, until we're saying that if you want to debate us about this, about what we're saying, that's when we need to bring you guys up. But we don't need you. We can just have these conversations each and every day without any ballers. We're talking about the nature of reality. That's what we're doing. All free people is giving me another $5 for saying I'm stoked about this. Yeah, I'm stoked about this too. It's going to be a lot more content coming out. It's going to be a lot more locations coming from me anyway for Flat Earth School. I've got a lot more time on my hands, a lot more educational content coming everyone's way. But this is my full-time job now, and yeah, I'm doing it for free, but I really appreciate any support you guys can give us. And that support has to come from ballers too. If you think you can make money off us, we're going to be making money off you. Make no mistake.
Yeah, I put that on my PayPal into the private chat. If you want to share it out on the stream. I mean, I'll debate any PhD in front of any amount of faculty in any university anywhere. All I want is my needs paid for. If I have to travel, and stay in a hotel, whatever, all I want is my needs paid for there, and I'm willing to do that. No bother. I go any part of the world and debate any PhD, anyone, don't care. But if I have to go onto someone's channel and have 2 hours of my life taken away and be abused, and that person make a lot of money, no, that's going to be €5,000 for those 2 hours.
That's the going rate.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be on Nathan's and I might be on Brandon's if he's on, or that kind of thing. Then that's different. That's like, yeah, I'm there. If they want to have it there, grand. If you can have a one-on-one there, no bother. Or as much as you can if there's a group of people. I mean, Nate wouldn't mind making space for someone wanting to challenge someone else on his channel or anything like that either. So no, that's fine. You can challenge me there for free. Like, that's no bother. But I'm not going to go onto any more baller channels where there's money being made by that person, and there's basically no progress made. In the because it's progress is needed now in this debate. There's no progress made. Not never comes of it, and I just have my time wasted, and I end up being abused, very abused. Well, I don't need that. If I'm going to have that, I want to get paid for it now. And even if flat earthers out there don't like us saying that, Mitchell, well, spend long enough at it, and you will. What's the point? I mean, how much? I don't mean this in a bad way, and a lot of people like doing it, but how much progress has been made by all the people arguing in Discord? Has there been progress made? How is that? How is that making mainstream people take notice of us?
Yeah.
We're stuck in Discord, and we're not getting out into to deal with with real mainstream pseudoscience or whatever. You know what I mean? We're not getting to deal with that. They don't have to deal with us because we're in Discord. Do you know what I mean? And arguing on YouTube. So we don't get to sit down at those tables in front of a whole faculty up on a stage and debate somebody, in the correct way. We don't get to do that, because we're on Discord and YouTube and wherever else, So, I don't care what people think of it. Me and Mitchell are right to charge money for that.
Yeah, we're putting this information out for free right now. You and me are just talking here. We're putting the information out, about reality. If it comes to getting challenged on that, going onto other people's channels, going to a physical place, going to a university, getting challenged by people, we're not doing that for free. We're not making you guys money because people want to see flat earthers getting pummeled. That's not going to happen. All you're going to see is a flat earth again talked over and muted. We've got the killer points here. We can talk about this all day without any monetary value. We're talking about truth. We're talking about reality. If you guys want to try and make money off us, that's not going to happen anymore. That's what Brian and me are saying. We're willing to come on your channels, but it's not going to be for free. Guns of Never Own, Robert's special liaison, says he appreciates the dedication we put into flat earth reality. Cheers from Canada. Thank you, Guns of Never Own. Really appreciate the support. Really appreciate the super chats. Brian, it has been a pleasure having you here today. Hopefully we're going to get some feedback from the ballers. Show us some videos of how we use the sextant. Are we wrong? Are we using the dip angle correction wrong? Do we need the dip angle correction at all? Is there different type of sextants? These are the things that the professionals need to come back with us with. But Brian, unless there's any other points, thank you for coming on Flat Earth School. It has been a pleasure.
Well, first of all, I want to say thanks for having me on. I really enjoyed it, Mitchell. I would hope that people support you financially, because this is what you're doing now at the moment. It's not your fault. Things are the way they are in the world. And you obviously have bills to pay and all the rest of it. As all I would like for the audience to do is to focus on the horizon dip correction when you're arguing with the opposition, and get them to show in the almanacs where their geometric horizon dip is taken into account in the corrections, because I can't find any correction that corrects for anything that other than the eye line above the water underneath the boat. So,
yep, great point.
So yeah, focus on that. Mitchell, thanks for having me on. Really enjoyed it. And
Brian's logic, I'll put the address to his PayPal in the chat there. If you want to support Brian's work, he definitely deserves support. Go to his channel, Brian's Logic on YouTube. Subscribe today. And this has just been another jam-packed information session about our reality, about how we see our reality, how we prove that it's a flat Earth. Brian Logic, thank you for coming on today. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for everyone turning up here today to just educate yourselves, because that's what it's all about. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Richard.
Awesome, mate. If you feel like the world turns on you, turn to Flat Earth School. It is around us 24/7 since the beginning of existence. I've been Mitchell from Australia. He's been Brian's Logic. Till next time, get out and experience your Flat Earth School. See you guys.